So you want to be a luxury real estate agent and you're considering, should I join a luxury real estate brokerage? You know which ones I'm talking about. It's the ones that say we're luxury. That's all we focus on. They're 100-year-old clearinghouses. And the question that I get a lot is, Isaac, not just how do I break into luxury, but will joining a brokerage like that actually help me sell more real estate? I'm going to break that down for you. I'm going to answer that and some of the pros and cons of joining those types of companies and break it all down for you right here in this video. Now, remember, Isaac Guzman with Real Estate CEOs, and I'm always bringing you the best, most relevant information on how to sell more real estate, scale up your business, and know everything you need to know about what's the right brokerage or team model that works for you, because not everything is created equal. Based on your goals, some companies might be the right fit, some might not. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel, like, comment, and share, because I want to know your input on what you think about joining a luxury brand. Are you part of a luxury brand? Have you tried that before? Are you considering it? Well, we've got you covered right here on this channel. So let's jump right in. First, let's jump into why would somebody want to go into luxury in the first place? Well, here's the first couple things. One, high earning potential. Obviously, for every house you sell, if it's more expensive, you're going to earn more money for what some people can consider the same amount of work. Oftentimes you hear this said, a lot of times luxury buyers and sellers are a little bit easier to work with than your traditional and maybe even lower end. I haven't seen that to be necessarily the case. They do have really high standards, but you do have high earning potential. Number two is prestige and reputation. It is pretty cool. And it's really nice to be like, hey, there's Lamborghinis in the garage of the houses I'm selling. That stuff sells on social media, and there's some merit to that, right? Some people hate on it, other people don't. I don't really care, but I do see there is utility to it. Next is exclusive networking opportunities. When you're playing in the luxury space, a lot of times there's networking opportunities with other agents all across the country, all across the world, and you also have a high net worth network through your clientele. Number four, advanced training and resources. Now, this one is something that sometimes, depending on the company you're with, you do have additional training and access to resources, right? But ultimately, that one's not that big a deal because most of those luxury brands are going to be pretty basic in terms of their offering. Now, here's the other thing, access to premium listings. A lot of people want to get into luxury for that. They love luxury homes. They want to work with luxury clients. And if you're at a luxury brokerage, you might have more access to those opportunities, even if it's just to show off on Instagram and pretend like you're selling high value homes. Well, I mean, there's value to that too. So why would you choose a luxury brand? Well, it's because you have access to those luxury listings. You have stronger brand recognitions in some certain markets. Because I'll tell you right now, the majority of markets, luxury, the brand isn't going to do anything. The Sotheby's, the Compass, whatever, it's not going to do very much, right? Because there are people who run their own independent boutique brokerages that crush it in the luxury space. So if you absolutely needed to have the Sotheby's brand with you, well, I don't know. Right? That's TBD. But in certain markets, I do see that it is valuable. I have a friend who works in a high-end luxury market in Florida, and he's like, dude, I'm sorry, but it is the truth. We cannot roll around here unless you rock a big luxury brand. And maybe that's just because the other agents, you want to get their respect and get them to take a look at your offer, them to show your listing. Well, if you rock one of those brands, sometimes that does work in your advantage. Now, here's some cons about being in the luxury space in general and partnering up with luxury brokerages. So one, there's high expectations. If the company has standards, now if they don't have standards, I question whether or not they're actually a luxury brand, right? If anybody could just walk in there, a brand new agent, hasn't sold anything, it can just walk into a luxury brand, well, to me, that actually disqualifies it as a luxury brand. Unless they have some kind of qualifications for production or, the average price point, then I wouldn't consider a luxury brand anyways. So if they do have that, then they're going to have high expectations. They're going to be expected to perform. There's a lot of pressure there to continue to do that. In addition to that, you're limited in your market size. There isn't as much luxury in a given metro. I'm in San Diego. You would consider luxury represents a small amount of transaction volume in terms of units, maybe not dollar figures, but in terms of units. So what that means is that there's a lot of more competition, right? There's a lot more agents chasing fewer opportunities simply because of the size of the market. In addition to that, there's longer sales cycles. To sell a $5 to $12 million home typically is going to take a lot longer than selling a six, seven, $800,000 home in a market like ours. And so that longer sales cycles means you're going to go longer in between paychecks. Now, granted, again, to the point at the beginning, those paychecks are going to be a lot bigger, but you're going to have to wait a lot longer for those. And you're shelling out costs because there's higher marketing costs across that longer sales cycle. Higher marketing costs. Like, think about it. You're doing lifestyle videos, horseback riding videos, right? 3D walkthroughs, drone footage. Maybe you're throwing a DJ in the mix when you're doing an open house. There's a lot of stuff when it comes to staging and advertising. The costs can add up, and you combine that with the longer sales cycle. Be prepared for what's about to happen. Also, strict entry requirements. A lot of luxury brokerages do require that you meet a minimum criteria for selling real estate or certain price points. I think I mentioned that earlier, but just keep in mind that that can be a con because it's hard to break into it. In addition to that, reputational risks. So high net worth client means that your action and your service levels are scrutinized a lot more closely. They have a certain level of expectation at that upper echelon. And if you're not prepared to deliver at the highest possible Ritz-Carlton experience level, then you might just get your reputation damaged before you even really get going. So that's an important thing. And then also, like I said, intense competition. There's a lot of competition. And because of those big paychecks, a lot of people have a lot of big money to throw to outcompete their competitors. And so that's a thing that you also have to be aware of. So unless you're ready to walk into that ring and start throwing blows and you have a big budget and you're ready to go, it can be challenging to get started in luxury. Now, here's the other part. Luxury brokerages. Are they actually worth it? Are they worth the commission structure that they charge? Are they worth going through all that to have that logo on your business card? And here's the thing, it really depends. And unfortunately, that is the true answer. The answer is if there's a certain brand that dominates in that market and you are not an established luxury agent in that market, it actually should help you. It very much could help you because there's brand recognition in that neighborhood. Hey, I thought only this company sells around here. And if you're new and don't have an established reputation and brand of your own in that neighborhood, then you probably should partner up with an established luxury only brokerage. Now, here's the other thing. Now, Isaac, what if I've been there? Or what if I already have a brand? Or what if I already live in that neighborhood? I'm already part of the country club. Maybe your significant other or your former career allowed you access into the upper echelon, these, the country clubs and all these other different places. Well, if you're already there, I would actually argue that the brand is unnecessary because now people already assume or acknowledge that you are luxury, that you do know in that space. So if you live there, let's say I like a buddy of mine, he owned a bunch of gyms. He was an early adopter and an early in on 24-hour fitness. You know what? That guy, he didn't need to go join some of these big brands. He was already in the neighborhood. He was already one of the people. His kids were already going to school with their kids, right? He was already part of the country club and going to all the events in that neighborhood. So for him, it was more about his personal brand than it was about whatever color scheme or whatever logo he had on his business card. And so there's one way is if you're already established in the community, right? And then other is, well, if you do start at one of those brands, you work to establish yourself as somebody who has their own brand within that brand, right? Hopefully they'll allow you to do that. It's a whole different thing. But work as somebody who has a great reputation. Whether or not you have your own individual brand, somebody who has a reputation, who's known in the community, who's known to get results for sellers and buyers in that community. Then you can actually afford to take the leap and build your own brand if that's something you're inclined to do and you get to leave those behind. Now, there's one other scenario that is really interesting, and that's when you join a brand that is all about delivering the best marketing for your sellers and you're a good salesperson. Because I'll tell you what, I have seen high-end luxury agents that enter into a market with a relatively new brand, like think Compass, right? They entered in with a new brand, but they had the marketing firepower to be able to overcome a lot of the more incumbent, 100-year-old clearinghouse brands. And so that's another thing is that if you're going to go and not go with one of those more established ones that, they're not really great on technology, they tend to not be super adaptive, they don't really focus on training and helping develop and scale. They kind of, oftentimes, this is my experience and people have shared with me that they kind of poo-poo building out teams and stuff like that. And as a matter of fact, as a short caveat, I remember sitting with somebody in the same room, as a small room, people that were leading individual brokerages in San Diego, and a very prolific person who represented a really big luxury franchise in the area literally said, I don't care about most of my agents because the majority of the money I make come from my top 15 agents. So I might have a couple hundred in my brand, but really all my money comes from them. So I don't care what everybody else wants. I just focus on them. They're my cash cows and they're never leaving me. And what that means is that not that he's a bad guy or that anybody's getting screwed or anything. What that means is he doesn't feel the need to go innovate and develop more opportunity and better technology and better resources for the people that want to grow, right? And so that creates a challenge as well. So here's something that's becoming more popular is partnering with a luxury brand that is now innovating in the space, right? There's companies out there that are growing in this space. And one that I will introduce you to in just the next week or so is about to take the market by storm. And so if you're interested in learning more about luxury, I'm happy to partner with you, point you in the right direction to the people that are building and launching this new brand. It's not new agents, it's just a new brand, but a bunch of luxury agents have gotten together and created a model that is blowing everyone's minds as soon as they look at it. And there's massive opportunity in this. But whether it's that company that I won't name on this video just yet because it hasn't been publicly announced, or it's another more established brand, those are some of the pros and cons of breaking into the luxury space using a luxury brand or a luxury brokerage. Here's my take on luxury in general. I'm not a big luxury guy. The reason why is because I'm not a luxury person in general. I like wearing t-shirts and hats and sandals, and I live on a ranch. Now, granted, my ranch is kind of expensive and there's a lot of luxury people around here, but the point is this. I'm a unit guy. I like to sell a lot of units. I like to meet a lot of people, build a big database, shorter life cycle of the transaction, and those types of things really tend to pay off in the long run for me. And so if you're looking at luxury, make sure you're taking those things into consideration. And if you do have any questions, I have two of the biggest luxury agents inside the Real Estate CEO network that are available to take your call, answer any questions, and potentially even partner up with you to break into the luxury space. So if you want to learn more about that, go into the description below, click that link, book a one-on-one time with me, and I will make sure that we're all utilizing those resources together to grow and scale our businesses and for you to break into luxury if that's what you want to do. Until next time, happy selling.